going, and definitely I see where we are now, Toronto, and everybody across the country. There is a larger responsibility for the hip hop community to sort of stand up and take on the rights and responsibilities of what this culture is. But beyond that, looking at the commonalities, that thread of commonality across that country, I talked to Cass Elliott in Winnipeg, and he's representative of Nova Scotia and Winnipeg, and things of that nature. And he talked about the fact that, just like Click was saying, we need more fans and less artists and things of that nature. But more importantly, he said that he truly believes that we've come to a point now where people accept that urban music, black music, is an acceptable form of music. It's no longer taboo to say urban music is black music. People understand it. They understand the history. There's some people that will Wikipedia it, YouTube it, and understand the culture of urban music more than those who come from that ethnic lineage. So I guess my question to the people on the panel is, how much do we need to share that story to corporate Canada? The fact that the lifestyle and the heritage that hip hop culture has developed, it's here, and it's being accepted across the board, beyond ethnicities, beyond cultures. Is that a message that needs to be heard, or am I going out of whack for that?
I think it's definitely a message that needs to be heard, but I agree with what was said earlier on the panel, in that one of the major ways that it is going to be heard is when it comes from within. Because when it comes from outside, it's as easy as closing that email or hanging up the phone or just dashing something into the garbage, right? But if that person is a marketing representative or a marketing manager or whatever executive on your team, and they're coming to you and sharing with you that experience, that makes people sit up and take notice more. Or when somebody from their circle is rooting for it.
Yeah, it's weird. I hate to be so kind of like Debbie Downer about this, but I mean, when it comes to corporate Canada, when it comes to corporations and stuff, like, they really just care about business and numbers, you know, like, especially with the people in power right now. Like, I don't think it's necessary to really share, you know, heritage and stuff. Like, they just want to see that it's a viable kind of market for them, you know what I mean? And like, but one example though that was kind of cool was that at Universal, like, we wanted to pick up the Amnesia Project, right, which is like an old school compilation CD stuff, but you know, it wasn't really, they're kind of like on board, like kind of not really, you know, but it took us having to take one of the marketing managers to go to an Amnesia party and party it up just so she could experience the whole vibe and see the kind of, you know, I guess the people that go to these jams and who kind of like, you know, are into these types of parties, for her to sway her decision to a yes, to pick up the project and stuff. So,
but that's a perfect example. I mean, if you weren't inside the system to tell the actual marketing manager, let's go to this party, you know, maybe she, like, if there was nobody within the system, then whoever, you know, Enon Jespinay was going over and trying to pitch his product to them, would they have even jumped on board if they didn't have a person like you in the corner?
Well, we kind of forced their hand to jump because we wanted them to actually see what the potential numbers could be like firsthand,
right.
You know, and kind of enjoy the experience in the process. But usually people aren't so flexible like that in corporate Canada. You know what I mean? Like these guys are old. You know, like they don't really want to party no more. You know, like they've been there, done that. Really, you know, like, and you know, us coming from, like, you know, the standpoint of, like, you know, we still go to clubs and whatnot, still experience like street culture and stuff. They don't really want to be out like that. You know, like.
I still think there's a bad stigma around urban music and hip hop in this country. I really do, and I think that I know this from trying to book venues, from trying to help artists get booking tours, from tons of stuff. Like, there's a terrible stigma that, you know, it's a black thing. That still happens, and really it's not. It's a diverse. It reaches all different types of audiences of all different, you know, makeups. You know what I mean? And I think that really, my honest opinion is, it has to come, like, somebody needs to be within the system to show these guys that, yo, that is not really what it is.
I'll let Jesse be the last one to talk on that.
To go off these points, because they're all incredible. I mean, at the end of the day, it's like, I think what needs to really be understood is that the culture is not at a lack for talent, okay? So we are always going to have talent. We are always going to have artists. We are always going to have athletes. We are always going to have talent that is going to really push industries all over the place. What we need to do is we need to get more talent on the other side of the business. So whether we're talking about music, whether we're talking about sports, whatever we're talking about, what needs to happen is we need to have more individuals who are just as excited about mergers and building things together as they are about hitting a three in front of a bunch of people or winning a battle. Or I'm not even like, I'm talking like this is what I really believe. I'm sorry if people are offended out there, but this is what I really believe because I see it. We need to have more people who are just as excited about representation and management and brand management and things like that, whether it's for a company or it's on your own. That's I think the thing that's really missing, because what you need, like Click said and like Jody said and like Priya is saying, you need to have people who understand it in order to connect it and to connect it seamlessly and not just like paste them on top of each other and say, oh yeah, that's gonna be cool, that's gonna work. You really got to understand it, and that's what we're really missing.
Okay. Toronto, this is just the beginning. There's lots of conversations that can be had, and like I said before, this panel is very knowledgeable about those topics, and we will have them back in studio to continue those conversations. Richer Than Music is designed to highlight stories that reflect the influence and expression of urban music culture in our experiences across Canada. In reviewing Canadian hip-hop in all its various forms today, we didn't hope to necessarily solve any one particular issue, but more importantly, our goal was to set the table for future discussions and highlight the reality that Canadian hip-hop is relevant, Canadian hip-hop is vibrant, and in many ways representative of the life experiences for many Canadians beyond the geographic and ethnic component. Worthy of discussion, our experiences span much further than our contributions in music and sports. Yet, in listening to music and discussing the genre of hip-hop today, one can only be encouraged at the tremendous legacy Canada's urban music scene has crafted for itself. There is no doubt that when we write the memoirs of our Canadian experience, much of that soundtrack will include more than a few choice cuts from urban Canadian culture. Even if you're not a fan of Tona or Drake or Maestro, take an honest look of your environment and ask yourself, how far-reaching is hip-hop culture in the way that it influences the fashion, the sounds, the events, and the sites that surround and define your community? That is the current legacy of hip-hop. That is the strength of hip-hop culture. And if you are an active contributor to Canada's hip-hop industry, then it is your right and responsibility to nurture this sapling tree, because now we represent the next link in a long line that will endure our story as it holds, and beyond the music, our contributions are counted on by the next generation of Canadians to enjoy quality, passion, and perseverance evident in what hip-hop is. We want to thank Legion Media, TOFlow.com, and of course CHRY 105.5, and all of the listeners and panelists across the country that contributed to this broadcast, Canada's Getting Colder. Up next, we have DJ O paying homage to women in hip-hop, and we continue inside Black history. This has been Canada's Getting Colder, a joint perspective on Canadian hip-hop culture. I want to thank you for joining us.
You're listening to Canada's Getting Colder, a joint perspective on Canadian hip-hop culture.